Okay, so thank you for coming today. This is the high school small group instruction best practices. And Tyler Abel and Crystal Bratton from North are going to share some of their best practices. And then we are going to have it open for everyone to share and talk. And we heard that was something important for you all. And then, even if we don't start online, we know that at some point this year, some of our students or all of our students will be online. So it's great to have some examples. And with high school starting, we believe, at least half of the kids online, that's important for you guys. So I'll give it over to Crystal, I think is going first.
Yes. Hi. I teach inclusion, special ed, and English at North, and I'm a co-chair with a concentration in instruction. And so my part of the presentation is going to discuss like the Canvas setup and accessibility, and then kind of things that I did to work with a student who has executive functioning deficits. And then the last one is like an idea or a tip that I think that would be a positive way to like lead into the school year with students being online or in person and intermittently online. And so I'll go ahead and screen share. So the first thing that, I want to focus on is setting up your homepage in Canvas. So the moment that you click on the course, you see the plan for the day. So we don't want to toggle away from anything on that first homepage. You want it right there. So parents or students log in, they immediately see like the date and what they're going to do. There was a bunch of different ways that things were set up over the spring semester. Some teachers use announcements, some teachers use modules. At North, we're currently putting together a template to utilize as an entire school, so it looks the same. So this is currently the tentative template for North teachers that are with us. And all of the buttons will be the same for each course. So parents, resource teachers, tutors can go to the same places to get the material that they might need. And then the current agenda will be listed on that homepage as well. We want to make sure that when we are discussing like the steps that we're going to use during that day, we're linking everything that we can. And that's where I had said earlier that we kind of have to view this school year as everybody's learning online. But if they're in person, it's a bonus. So as much as you can use Canvas and put your materials online and utilize online discussions and other technology, the better prepared we will be as teachers and students, because we're teaching them how to use it when we have to do intermittent shutdowns or students are having intermittent absences. So linking everything that you're going to be doing that day and linking assignments is really important. So this would be like the first day that we come into our class on August 5th. So we're going to do introductions and do a get to know activity. You'll have a link to your syllabus that you might go over, but that'll also be in course policies and resources. And then you have your first assignment or activity guide. And then the last part would be the assignment that they'd have to work on. What does it say they have to do, and providing dates. That's also what we found during the spring to be really important, is anytime you have an assignment or you're linking an assignment, putting a due date. So you don't have to figure out when it's due, how it's due, and it's right there in the title. So I put together just two days, mock days of what we would do. Here for the second day, it was submitting something via the course discussion board. So I even linked the discussion board here. So this will take you to the discussion board assignment. So you don't have to click on discussions on the left-hand side either. So having everything they need right here in this box for the day really helps our students, all students who have high functioning abilities, as well as our students who even technology is difficult for them to maneuver, as well as our parents. And then within Canvas, on my day 3, I put together, I'm showing 4 different ways that you can use the technology and the accessibility functions in Canvas to provide your students with accommodations. So Does anyone have any questions about this setup at all before I move into like the accessibility? It's pretty self-explanatory. Just wanted to double check.
Just want to let you know, we do have a few extra people who have joined since you started.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Bratton, special ed teacher at Bloomington High School North. So some ways that you can use accessibility features in Canvas or creating those things accessible on your own. So the first one that I will show is using like the quizzes in our Canvas program. So I've done where I've just taken my cell phone and I've videotaped myself, or I've used my own computer or school issued device to video talking over a PowerPoint or creating a video if you're finding yourself struggling on whatever the lesson is, so parts of speech, and then entering that into the directions. So this is just uploading media or linking media. But inside Canvas, when you have the question details and you go into edit it, you can record by simply clicking the record and upload media button. And this will allow you to record yourself, and you don't have to have a video. You can turn your webcam off, so you don't have to worry about that. And then it'll link it here. So when I did this one, I just read the sentence, and then I said possible answer choices are verb, adjective, article, pronoun. So if someone has a quiz that they shuffle the answers, by saying possible answers, then they know that it's not directly in the same order for everybody. But so you can do that just in every single quiz question with record and upload media. These are all done that way. The next way that we did some accessibility and accommodations is an assignment that we did where you were designing a character for a book. So this link takes you to the Google Doc that the students would answer. So for that, we voice recorded and uploaded directions, so where we read these directions, and the assignment audio, so where we read everything that's on the assignment page. You can also, though, make everything accessible for your screen reader on your device, and there is a direction sheet called Creating Accessible Digital Content, a desk reference guide, that actually shows you how in Canvas you can set these to be a certain type of header to where the screen reader on the computer will read that to them as well. So it's really kind of what you feel more comfortable with, either setting it up for the students to use the screen reader or them to hear your own voice and uploading that digital media. Another fine tool that if you were in the 2 p.m. PD with Ken Howard and Kristen Milks, they discussed, and you'll get to see Ken's face here, they discuss ways to use Zoom to record the screen and the lesson that you're teaching, as well as having yourself here. So throughout Ken's assignment, he's like doing it just like he would teach. He's telling a personal story. He pulls up the assignment that the students are going to be doing, and he's going through the assignment with them. And so it's recording that full lesson. And so you can have your students, whether they're in person or not in person, still listening to this, and completing the assignment. And then it's the questions that are being answered while you're in the classroom. So that professional development is being recorded and can show you exactly how to use Zoom to do that. But that is a third way that you can provide accommodations to students and accessible formats. And then the final thing is using outside technology, so not just being stuck to use like your Canvas and yourself, and use something else. So I don't know if anyone has ever used Padlets before or has been in a professional development where you've used Padlets. But Padlets, you can only have 3 Padlets, and then you have to pay for everyone after it, or you have to delete that Padlet. So there's a website called Wakelet. And I look at Wakelet as sort of like a virtual bulletin board. And what you can do is you can create as many Wakelets as you want for whatever unit that you're doing. So this would be our Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Everything on Wakelet that you create reads the material aloud to you. It's already embedded into the program. So here we've labeled it day 1. You can read or listen to the summary of what Born a Crime is. Here are some bolded words with definitions from above. And then you can link in videos that you want them to watch. So it's just kind of like this separate technology and location where they're still getting that material given to them, but they're not continuing to use the Canvas program. It's just something more fun and maybe exciting, I don't know, to them. Yeah. So that's the first portion of my PD, discussing the Canvas setup and some accessibility features. Before I move into talking about a specific resource or the things that I've used for students, does anyone have any questions? Okay, so thinking of my TOR list, during the spring I had a student who had executive functioning deficits. And so very smart, very with it when in the classroom, but at home having to be self-motivated and complete things was very difficult for them. So I worked back and forth with the mom and the student to come up with a few different things. So the first thing that he needed was like a schedule. So I sent him a schedule, and there's a program called Canva that can make things like interesting and exciting. So this would be his online learning schedule. So it's visually breaking down like a timeline of what he needs to do. So from 9 to 9:15, you need to log on to Canvas and check your to-do list. Then from 9:15 to 11, these are the classes that you're working on. Telling him there's your hour of your lunch break. You know, here's when you need to work on ICP, and then this is where you work on your Play-Doh for Algebra 2. So giving him that visual to remind him about, you know, keeping on schedule and paying attention to that. When I say check your to-do list, we created just a Google Sheet where every day it'd be what the date was, which teacher is going to be checking in on you through Google Meets, and then what the to-do list is for that day. So his goals is the work from the previous day submitted on Canvas, create a to-do list for the day to be submitted by 3:30 p.m., and then do you have any academic questions that we can help you with? So those are the 3 things that he would get ready before our meetings each day. We had 11 o'clock meetings Monday through Thursday set up through Google Meet, and I utilized paraprofessionals as well as myself to send him the Google Meet link and go in. And those meetings were, you know, it seems kind of like tedious or time consuming. Oh, you met with him every day, but the meetings can last 5 minutes. You know, it's just simply like helping him create the to-do list so he knows exactly what he needs to work on for that day. And that proved to help him a lot. We had to update and change his, you know, schedule a little bit. Time versus, you know, he started not waking up until 11. So then it was changing the time. So let's move it down and start at a different time. But I also utilized Google Meets to call the parent. I don't like to give my phone numbers out to parents, especially when I know that the parents are a little bit more needy. And so calling them through Google Meet, we were able to still do a voice call. I didn't see the person on the screen, but we were able to call and talk on the phone and just see how things were going. And I felt like that was successful as well. The final thing I would say is moving forward into what the school year we're going to embark on is how can we best prepare everyone for the needs of our students, for our special ed students. And so I thought about taking and creating this FYI infographic for all of my TOR students. So this is supporting blank in an online format. So these are the helpful hints. Bullet listing really quick that students' accommodations. What were those students' strengths from the spring e-learning? What can I tell you that they did well that you can capitalize on? But also, what are their weaknesses? Where where did I see struggles or weaknesses in spring e-learning that maybe their teachers can be aware of when they're planning their lesson for this individual student or multiple students who had that same weakness. And then how I can help. So listing suggestions on how, as a teacher of record, I can help in their classroom to motivate that individual student. And then having a quick contact info below. So this is my contact info, what room I'm in, my extension, but also what the parent's name is. And what I know as a teacher of record is their best means of communication, because we don't always know that as a regular classroom teacher, that they actually prefer you to call them. They never check their email, or they're on their email all day long. So utilize it. So that was something that I thought might be good to use moving into this school year, because I have found that I had a lot of students who struggled with the contingency learning in the spring, but are still choosing the online learning, the online academy for the fall because of the fear of everything. And so I think that we have to put them in the best place, have to put our teachers as well as our families in the best place possible to move forward and have success with, whether they're online academy or we're intermittently online, because at some point, we're all going to be, online teaching and learning. Anyone have any questions? That's it. All right, I'll stop my share. I'll let Tyler jump in, and then when Tyler's finished, if you guys think of stuff, we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, so obviously following Crystal is a lot of fun because she's super detail oriented and organized, and it drives me crazy whenever I have to follow her presenting things. But no, I'm kidding. I think going off of what Crystal said, the more organized you are in the online environment, it honestly makes things much easier on you. For me, I'm coming from a little bit different approach. My caseload's a little bit smaller, but my students are far more involved. So the approach I took was, who's going to be the primary, deliverer of what we're trying to do? And for me, it was the parents or guardians of my students. So I moved slightly away from having them go through Canvas and trying to learn all the intricacies of Canvas and things like that, and kind of created my own reference point, I guess you could say, or place that everyone could go to. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can you guys all see that? Hopefully. Okay, cool. So I created a website, and essentially this website, it's a website that I had created for my students. We were using it as a way for them to log into our unique learning system curriculum that we use in the classroom. The reason that we were using ULS was because with the way that, our alternative assessments were going, everything was moving online. So I was trying to create opportunities for my students to get used to navigating websites and to navigating, how to move across the web page, knowing that they were going to be in a testing environment at some point where they're going to have to do it. So that this website already existed. I just took it and kind of expanded it and made it a place where everyone could end up at. What you'll see on it is my contact information. Most of my students, guardians, and parents had my cell phone number just because of the different types of communication that we have across the day and across the school year. So I didn't list it on the website. I would suggest not listing it on any website, just because if you want to give it to certain people, give it to certain people. But I would recommend not listing it in a public forum to where any kid or adult can get a hold of your cell phone number and really make it hard on you if something were to go wrong. So the first thing that I have here is I just created a simple schedule. Obviously the kids that I work with in the community-based program, structure is key for them. They've got to have that structure throughout their day, and we wanted to try to continue that as best we could. during the hours of when the district said we were available between 9 and 11 and 1 to 2, myself and all of my paras were online in different breakout rooms, and I'll go into more detail on that. But everybody was online for that hour to provide any type of help to the students that they would need during that time related to whatever subject or class that they were working on during that time period. And I set that out and have that laid out that I'll go into further detail on here in a second. So we provided them with as much structure as we could. For instance, the vocational kitchen task, any one of these links that are underlined, those are links to different pages that we created. So for vocational kitchen tasks, they could click on that and then they could go and see some different types of videos that my staff created that were kind of video modeling for the students within that certain functional skill that they were doing. And we also created a visual support for them. That's kind of a schedule on what they need to do within that specific task. Really trying to think of the parents and how they were going to work with the students through these different routines that we were trying to do. So we have links for vocational tasks. I have an exercise and physical activity task, and then we have other functional tasks that they would do. Along with this is I created a visual schedule for parents that they could print out that looks like this. That goes right along with that schedule that we put out for them. That's very visual for the students and allows the parents to work through this type of schedule with their student on a daily basis. Any questions so far? Okay. Here also I had a staff weekly schedule that I created, and this was just purely for my paraeducators that told them every single day who they were going to be working with and what subject and during what time period that they were going to be responsible for that. To me, this is what made what I did most successful because it was very clear to the paras, this is what I need you to do. This is what needs to happen during these time periods. And I think it was good for them because it allowed them to know what they were supposed to be doing in an environment where, to be honest, as a parent, they're kind of lost because a lot of what they do is direct instruction right in front of the kids when we're in the classroom. So I think this was an important piece for me in terms of my communication with my paras also. And then below the schedule, I had different types of resources. So here would click on their unique learning system login. I created an assignment log for different types of community-based activities. Obviously, you know, when the lockdown happened, that kind of changed how we could do certain community type things. But I created this log for the parents that they could go in and kind of check, this is what my kid did on this day, so on and so forth. So we could keep track and assess what type of activities they were doing still related to community activities. I've also got the login that takes them straight to Canvas. So for some of my higher learners, they still use Canvas. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we supported that aspect of things here in a second. And then I included some behavior strategies and then some different math aids that if for some reason parents wanted more work to do to fill the day up, these things were available to them and for them to be able to use. Below that, we would always do a weekly reading that's called News to You. I differentiated that based off of what News to You created for us. So we had a higher version, a regular version, a simplified version. And every week, my staff was responsible for doing a read aloud for each one of these. So if the student would click on that link, it would bring up what that looks like in terms of them reading along. And then along with that, if they click the read aloud, then they would have a video of one of my staff reading the exact same thing aloud to them. So then they weren't dependent on their own reading abilities and still could hear someone reading it to them if they needed that type of accommodation or modification. Okay. And then the last thing I've got here is I just had a calendar. As part of this calendar, it basically was just a way to put as much information on what each kid we would like for them to do during each day and each time. It's very much a repetitive thing, but I put this on here so that if parents that are more tech savvy wanted to add this to their Google Calendar or add it as an ICS on their phone, if they have an Apple device, they were able to do that by just clicking this plus Google Calendar down here at the bottom. Students could do that also. So just another tool that we're able to use. Okay. Any questions about the layout of what I did? No?
Tyler, what did you end up having to like change for each day? I guess like the setup of a website will take a little bit of effort at the forefront of it, but like what did you find yourself having to actually change like daily or weekly of it?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. See.
So that was the nice thing about it. The only thing really that I changed were these readings down here at the bottom. Those changed weekly. The nice thing about when we're using the unique learning system, I create a curriculum and lesson plans for the whole month, and then it's interactive for the students. They'll go in and then it'll bring up a list of different things that they're supposed to do for that specific day. So on my end, there was very little that I had to change once we got into this kind of everyday thing. Usually I could go at the beginning of the week, download the new readings here, tell staff that they need to do the read alouds, and then it was just a matter of putting all that on a link on the page somewhere. So, any other questions? Okay. So the biggest thing that I think we were most successful with were our breakouts. So when parents, we used Google Meet exclusively. Originally, when I kind of thought up doing this, I thought we were going to be able to use Zoom and use breakout rooms within Zoom. And the biggest reason that I wanted to do breakout rooms was, as the TOR, I wanted to see what was going on in terms of direct instruction for all my students. So I actually, as the teacher, whenever that 9 o'clock period hit, I had a secondary monitor that had all 6 of the extra breakout rooms, one for each of my paras. And that was on one screen, and then on my screen was my breakout room. And then live, I could see every single one of those rooms and what was going on in them. We recorded every session just so we knew going back what worked, what didn't. And it's going to be something that as we move forward here that I'm going to use with my paras as a means to go back and look at some of the individualized direct instruction that we did that was recorded, and use that as a tool to say, this is how we could have done this a little bit better when we were doing direct instruction. This, I don't think worked. What are some other ways that maybe we can switch that in terms of delivery that are going to help the students, and most importantly, the parents that are sitting there next to them, kind of understand what we were trying to accomplish during that lesson. So that was my plan whenever we needed to have the recording, because we were working with students from liability standpoint, but also using it as a tool to create more opportunity for professional development on best practices, not just for teachers, but for our paraprofessionals. So whenever students or their parents would come to the website, if they click on English breakouts, what you'll see here is just a simple the students' initials just to keep confidentiality. And then these rooms, I don't have them current right now because the Google rooms don't exist currently. But these rooms would be linked to a specific room for that staff member. And then all the parent would have to do is click on that link, and then it would take them directly into that room. It seemed to work well for our parents. The only time that it got maybe a little confusing is if students had to switch rooms for like math, for instance. So for example, Miss Veronica before had a whole small group of kids that she was working with, but during math in the next hour, she was just working with one kid. So trying to get them in the right place during that time initially was difficult, but then I think once everybody got the hang of it, then it became a lot easier for everybody to access. So we had the English breakout rooms, the math breakout rooms, and then from the 1 to 2 o'clock portion, we provided that as more of elective coursework or other coursework that they might be working on. And I had that separated out based off of their maroon and gold days. At North, since we're on a block 8, we have the maroon and gold days. So some of the students, for example, the student that has the initials SD, he was supported on maroon days by Miss Veronica in foods class. And then on gold days, he was supported by Miss Connie because he had biology. So figuring out different ways how we can still get them direct instruction and support in those other courses that aren't necessarily core for our students. Okay. So any questions on breakouts and how we used that? I'm going to show you.
I had a question.
Sure.
Your breakout room, is it just a regular Google Meet room, but you're calling it a breakout room, or is that a special feature in Google Meet?
No, it's just a regular Google Meet room. I'm just calling it a breakout. I don't know. It was just the word that I came up with, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
that I thought best fit going into those small groups for the students to be able to have that direct instruction time.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. So once we got into our specific, let me try to share a different screen here. Bear with me.
I think it's more of no one really knows, Danny. I think more things are going to be required, and like teaching or grading is going to be, normal, so to say. We're going to keep forward with all of that, but no one really knows like what's going to be required or even requested. I know that a lot of parents who have picked Online Academy want that, want their student to be able to, work with teachers live, and have lessons. So I think it's just going to be a whole different ball game with the choice of doing the Online Academy versus having, everyone online during contingency learning. But I think ultimately, what are we going to have to do is not yet decided.
I think that part of that also is there was no grade, there was less accountability in the spring, and now that's not going to be the case. Whether it's Online Academy, whether it goes intermittent, whatever it is going to count. And so there's a different viewpoint, and parents also, parents were just overwhelmed last year, and they were like, look, if I don't have to worry about my student and fighting them to go do that online, then that's fine. But now if they're making that choice, and or if not, if it's affecting their graduation status in 2 years or this year, it's going to matter. So I think that it'll be a little different. And kids miss their friends. And I mean, I know a lot of kids are seeing their friends, but some still aren't. And that might be the only place they see their friends. Does anybody else have any questions?
This may be a rookie question. How do I know if my kids are online academy or not?
So
Is
we are
that
still taking
available yet?
enrollment. Yeah, no, I mean, we're still taking enrollment and it's through
Right.
the 20th. So I imagine there's going to be lists generated for everybody once everything is finalized.
And for my parents who don't enroll.
If they don't enroll, it's automatic in person. So they would automatically be hybrid. So they were asked to enroll, like everybody was asked to, but the default is if they don't enroll, they're automatic in person.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, that's a good question, Nikki. Just like of my students I am on are my caseload or that are in my scheduled to be in my class, like who is online versus who is an in-person person. So yeah.
Right. Well, and my situation is so different from like
Right.
my own schedule plus everyone else's schedule in the building, trying to figure all that out. But
yeah,
it's all right.
It's all right.
We'll make it.
We're all rookie in this.
I know. It's gonna be fun.
I guess I was misunderstanding the online academy because I was, the way it was explained earlier, I thought was that it was separate from any of the schools. And that's why they were hiring online academy teachers. So we might have online academy students in our classes.
So
I just didn't realize that.
So for K through 8, it is separate teachers, except not electives in 8th grade. Because so in the high school level, there's so many classes, it's impossible to hire enough individual teachers to be able to teach them all for everybody. So at the high school level, what was decided on was that the teachers would record their instruction they're doing for their general class anyway. And then they don't have to record the whole block of their class, but like the instruction part. And then that would be posted online for those students. Now, it's really the same thing as hybrid is happening. So really with hybrid, the teachers have half their kids online every day anyway, and with the split alpha. So really, to me, the easiest way to think about online academy is people doing hybrid the whole time. You know, like, so the teachers would have to do it whether the online academy was happening or not at this point because of hybrid, and they have kids both days. So I think I feel for the high school teachers, I do, but at least hybrid is no more work or less than, like, they're the same now. They have to record their instruction every day for hybrid kids. Online academy kids are getting that every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it is different teachers though for elementary and middle. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, hello. My name is Juan Baca, and I work at Bloomington High School North in the community room, community-based room, excuse me. For it, a lot of our instruction is individual. Are we recording those interactions and posting them online, or?
You would only need to post things, my understanding is if it's something that an online student would need. So if it's individual and you're working with student A and student A is getting instruction that only pertains to student A, that doesn't need to be recorded and posted because student A is there and wouldn't need to see it at home. They're there for it.
So how would I do, like what kind of lessons would I be recording then and posting online?
For lessons that any student that you have that might have chosen online academy or on the hybrid days, work for that student.
Okay.
So I think, Juan, what I planned on doing if I had a kid that was online academy or hybrid, assuming that I've got parental approval to record a kid, I could do a lesson, like a discrete trial session where I'm working with a kid on color. I can record that, and it would be like a video modeling type activity for that student to do at home with the parent. Or that's the way I'm looking at it and thinking of it. Or I use a staff member to show this is how we would do this particular activity. Obviously, it's going to vary from the level of your student. I know some of the kids in your class could watch the video and get it pretty easily. whereas there are other kids, it's going to take somebody sitting in front of them,
Right.
really helping them. So I think I don't know if we know the answer fully yet, but I think the way I'm looking at it is more of a video modeling type model, I guess you would say,
Right.
where we kind of show what we're doing, this is how we do it, and then that way it gives whoever's working with that student the ability to see this is how it's done. Okay, I'm going to try to emulate that on my own here.
Right. And we're not going on community outings this term? Are you? Or
Right now we're not.
Yeah.
I'm working on something related to that.
Okay.
But I'm kind of, yeah. Right now, that's not the plan.
Right.
That was part of a discussion last night surrounding that. So,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
yep.
Anyone else? Well, I want to thank Crystal and Tyler. That was very helpful, and I appreciate everybody's questions and feedback and ideas also. So this was recorded. It will get posted. I definitely had it paused at some point, and I'm not really sure how or how long. So most of it will be posted. But you all were here to see it at least, so that's good. Do you guys want to send me, well, you didn't really have, if there's any documents from today that you want me to post, like if you want to send me the Canva thing as like a PDF or something like that, I can post it to where you saw the link to do this activity. So I'll post the video, will eventually get there, and then any resources I can put there also.
Okay.
And if you want to give me your website address or something like that, Tyler, we could put that there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can send a copy that, obviously I don't care who uses it. So if you guys decide to do something like that, feel free to make it your own or whatever. So I'll send that along.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.